Thank you. Charles told me if I can get this done under 20 minutes, I get a bonus. So my name is Robin Ren. I have a fun collection of panelists here. We talk about something outside of Shuki's academia life. We talk about his other life, his startup life. And we'll have some short but sweet stories to share. Okay, I will start.
Let's start with Paul.
Start with Paul. Okay, so Paul.
Yep, I think better sound.
So I got a phone call from Shuki when I was 23 years old in Wisconsin. And I picked up the phone, and he was inviting me to come to Caltech. And then 4 years later, he brought a bunch of us in a room, and he invited us to, or asked us if we wanted to start a company. And I think that says a lot about Shuki. There are connectors, social connectors, people that are at the center of things. And Shuki's not just this social connector, he is this creator of opportunities. And I don't think you have a lot of free will when kind of those opportunities are presented to you. And so at Rainfinity, which was 1998, one of Shuki's main jobs, of many main jobs, was to get money for us. And I remember this story. I wasn't at this dinner, but like someone was trying to give Shuki money, which is to say Shuki was asking for money. And I don't know the details of it, but this person had done things at the dinner that didn't really fit well with Shuki's idea of good character, I think. And, you know, he was nice and respectful and walked away from the dinner, and that was it. And that's kind of a big deal to do when you're starting a company and people depend on it. But I think he was applying these simple principles, you know, and making these decisions. And it kind of comes back to this idea that, you know, if you're going to be a TA for Shuki, be nice to the students. And if you want to give Shuki money, be nice to the waiter a little bit. And that's a powerful lesson to see when you're like 28 years old and you see someone that makes a decision to walk away from something. Because like Yasser was saying, that that ability to walk away from something based on a simple idea it's a powerful lesson for someone who's kind of starting out in life. And I think I would like to thank Shuki for being this creator of opportunity. I think a lot of people can appreciate what he's done there. I think, you know, when the two paths diverge in the woods, Shuki shows up in his wizard robe and his wizard staff. And he says, maybe not those two paths. How about this other path that I've got for you? So I also kind of like to remember him as the wizard in the woods. So thank you, Shuki.
All right, so 3 minutes. I'll try to see what I can fit by 13. So I was in New York when Shuki reached out to me. I was an undergrad, and at the time, I was admitted by a few schools, and I narrowed down to Stanford, Berkeley, and Caltech. And to me, Shuki, so I spent a weekend here. I met Shuki, I met Paul, I met Li Hao, I met Vincent, and I was helping them assembling some furniture in their apartment. And I fell in love with the group. And that's the reason I came here. So to me, Shuki and Paradise Group was the Caltech. And I loved every moment of it. In 1998, after 3 years in the group, Shuki invited me to join the first startup, Rainfinity. So let me show a few pictures, see if I can finish the picture in 1 minute. This was actually Paul's picture, but he didn't show. You'll see the the cluster on the top left, that's the ring. I think Yasser mentioned computing the ring. That's the ring that we computed with. And some of the computing were actually games that when we invited Phil. And that's how we started. Phil is the guy on the right-hand side. He couldn't join us this time. So Vincent, Paul, Phil, Shuki, and myself, we started Ringfinity. And that was a blast. We worked in that company from 1998 to 2005. And I had more pictures. I was assembling another cluster called Snow, a web server, and that's us taking picture at the Moore building. And then we got office in Old Town Pasadena. That's us working and playing games sometimes. And this is Robin. Actually, Robin joined. Robin had the honor. The reason he beat me out to be the moderator because he worked in all three startups. He's involved in all three startups here. And that's Robin and his wife, Linda. That's the first GUI we made. Actually, Vincent made that, where we had a fault-tolerant cluster of computers where these animals running, looking for a safe home, whichever building that's left standing. And that's a knot on the right-hand side, one of the annual parties. And then we moved down to, this is me with Shuki. And then we actually, I'll save memberage for you here. So in my time left, I learned many, many lessons, and I'll continue at dinner. I think the first, I didn't know anything. Not talking about business, I think Shuki would take me to the Burbank, and he would teach me which route to drive, which parking to use, and on the plane where to place my bag so I sit on the plane in the most comfortable way. so he would get all of this. And then I remember one thing he was telling me something. Maybe he noticed I was always very shy about asking for money, to customers or to investors. And then he said when he was at IBM, a manager, I don't know if it's Paul or Guten, was in a meeting, and it was a good meeting, and at the end he said, we need $2 million for this. and Shuki was in shock, like, how can we just go ask for money? And then he learned that's what you have to do in a business world. So then I learned about that. But I also learned more important things about listening to customers. It's not just about the cool technology, it's about what customer wants. I learned about wow moments, where when you're developing things, you're looking for that wow moments from your audience, from the customer that you're looking for. So after that, I also worked with Shuki in the second startup, which we are still working on, and we are also working on memory. So the company name is called MemVerge. It's about a memory company. And the journey continues. So I think this is not a real retirement. This is just another chapter. And I look forward to continue writing with Shuki. And I'll talk more later. All right, so.
I just want to say one thing. I'm grateful to Tom Cover at Stanford that I got to have Charles as part of my life for last 30 years. Because Charles came to Caltech for interview. He opened the door, he sat down, and I said, you are admitted. Why? Look at him, he's smiling. He said, really? I said, yeah, I like your smile. Then he went to Stanford, he met with Tom Cover, and he told him that he's also interviewed at Caltech. Tom asked him, who are you planning to work with there? And Charles said Shuki Bruck. Tom told him, go to Caltech. Charles went out, there was a so-called terminal in the common area, and he sent me an email from there with this story. So, thank you, Tom.
That was going to be my story at dinner. I have many other stories.
So the learning is, if you have a good story, tell it first. So again, my name is Robin Ren. I have the unique honor of being associated with all three of Shuki's startup companies. Many of you shared stories of being recruited by Shuki once in life. Imagine I got recruited by Shuki 3 times, all successfully. Thank you, Shuki. I want to, I started out working for Rainfinity as a software engineer. Then Rainfinity got acquired by EMC, and I worked at EMC with Charles for a few years. Then I joined Extreme.io as its first employee in the US. And Josh is the second. Josh will come up stage and share his story too. And in a couple years, we got acquired again by EMC. I left in 2015, joined another startup company called Tesla. I worked at Tesla for 5 years. And, just when I thought I could, enjoy some time off, Shuki recruited me again to serve on the board of Memverge. So it's really my honor to be working with Charles, working with Shuki over the years, learning so much from them. I will just share one story. During the acquisition process of Extreme.io by EMC, this was, if I remember correctly, this was May of 2012, so 13 years ago. The initial evaluation or due diligence went quite well. I remember I spent the entire month of April, including the Easter holiday, on campus at Hopkinton, doing all these tests. And everything went super well, and EMC was ready to move forward. Then this guy came in and almost derailed the deal. I won't mention his name, just to say he eventually became the CEO of Intel. Now, the deal almost was derailed, and Shuki went to Hopkinton and asked to see David Gordon, the CFO, and also Joe Tucci, who was the godfather of the storage industry at the time, CEO of EMC. And Shuki walked Tucci around the block. If some of you know the 176 building in Hopkinton, that's the main campus building. Tucci and Shuki walked around the block, and they talked. And nobody knew what they talked about, except Shuki later on shared. Everyone knew that Tucci immediately signed a deal after the walk. Okay, we said something must have happened. Shuki must have said something very nice to Tucci. Later on, like maybe a year or 2 later, Shuki told me, Robin, do you know what I told Tucci on that walk? He said, EMC has lost your brain by deciding not acquiring Extreme.io. Because the underlying message is at that very moment, I believe, Shuki definitely believed, that EMC needed Extreme.io more than Extreme.io needed EMC. All right, so that's my story. I will introduce Josh, who will talk about Extreme.io.
Shuki, I think one thing that I've learned from listening to all the speakers today and talk about you and your body of work and the work that they did under your tutelage is that you have, for your entire life, been building and building and building this giant body of knowledge. You have not just lived the same experience year after year after year. You have done different things and built a very strong foundational model of how things work and learned one thing and it's parlayed into the next. And I think I was fortunate that when we got to Extreme.io, it was this point in time where what you had done and how you applied that into Extreme.io allowed the company to succeed, because this was a new technology in many ways. It wasn't just flash memory, but it was also InfiniBand. It was distributed systems. It was new types of erasure coding. It was rethinking how all the enterprise features in a storage system are built when you take advantage of those things. And I don't think that could have been done by anybody else. And it was you and the team that you put together that made it happen. So let me try to tell everybody a little bit about what Extreme I/O was. So you have to take yourself back to 2010, 2011, and realize you heard some of the other speakers today talking about the emergence of flash memory and how at the time it was these compact flash cards that you might put into a digital camera, but nobody, and certainly not a very conservative enterprise storage architect or storage administrator, was going to use this to put the crowned data jewels of their company on. It was just not considered reliable enough, and it was frankly very expensive at the time as well. And the Extreme I/O team figured out how to build an enterprise-class storage system that was not only very fast and very low latency, but was reliable and was cost-effective. And this was one of the first systems of its kind, and frankly, the best system in the market, because there were many companies that were pursuing this at the time. Things moved very quickly at the company, from the time it first raised money to building the first systems and the algorithms inside it, to then having interest not only from EMC, but from Dell and from NetApp. Every company that was in the storage market was very interested in what Extreme I/O was doing. And that led to Robin having this time he spent over the Easter holiday in Hopkinton doing this proof of the technology and ultimately leading to the acquisition. And the product still wasn't ready to be commercially deployed when we were acquired, which I think says a lot about it, is that Shuki was able to convey to Joe Tucci the potential of what we were doing, and it came out in those tests. But by the time the product went to market, it became the fastest growing storage product that had ever been. So we launched at the end of the year. We only had about 6 weeks in the fourth quarter when the product came out. Very nearly hit 100 million in sales in those 6 weeks. The next year was over 500 million in sales, and the year after that was 1.3 billion. So really incredible journey, and a roller coaster the entire way. And we knew it at the time that this was going to be the ride of a lifetime. A lot of us talk about it still, that we would all sit around and say, let's really enjoy this, because we would probably never see anything like this again. So here's Shuki during those days. I'm not sure when this was. I'm going to guess Purim, but not sure. But in the halls with the team. This is with me and Shuki and a couple of the guys from our go-to-market team. That's Mike Wing, the big guy between me and Shuki, and Sunny Aulick, who ran our systems engineering group. And I'll share this, is that besides the technology being amazing, so is the culture. And people had tremendous amounts of passion for Extreme I/O, to the point where we were putting it on the license plates of our cars, which I still drive around with us today. So thank you, Shuki, for the incredible ride. And I'll tell my little story. Is I remember my interview with you sitting in the Athenaeum, and we had our lunch. You were pointing out all the Nobel Prize winners and Nobel laureates that were sitting in the cafeteria with us. And toward the end, you looked at me, and in your unique way, with quiet confidence, you said, "It's time for you to have a big success." And that has stuck with me all these years, and you were right. And thank you for that. Thank you. Yeah.
All right, good afternoon. So my name is Yue. I was working with Shuki as a postdoc scholar between 2014 and 2013. But actually, I came to Caltech 1 year earlier in my last year of my PhD as a visiting student. So I'm really fortunate to actually work with two advisors, Shuki and also Andrew. And to me, actually, they look very, very similar to me, in the sense they always come talk to me with a very nice smile. Always nice to me. Always, if I don't want to do anything, they always support me. So I'm really very grateful to Shuki and Ju. Thank you, Shuki. I want to share some of the stories with the members, which we co-founded together with Charles. Again, also because of Shuki, otherwise we will not be able to start the company, and we will not be able to. Will not be able to work with Charles, and also have Robin actually also served as my advisor before also. So I'm really grateful. So let me go back to the picture that Charles skipped. Actually, Charles really had very nice pictures here. So here, this is actually the picture where we are in our first office, right next to, it's really a very small office, much smaller than our lab space, actually. Only can sit 3 persons at most, and it's next to the San Jose airport. It's kind of a very short time. We only have 3 persons here, and that's the time we're starting looking for the VC, the seed round, the venture capital. So that's, you see those screen monitors are still there. We haven't opened the box yet. Then later we moved to another office. So here, basically, then, in the startup, we do lots of brainstorming on the directions. We do pivoting, brainstorming, all those are very common. And Shuki always just come from always fly directly from Burbank to here and to join our meetings. And here, just simple late night discussion when we are thinking about what to do in the first version of the product. And here is another nice picture that we are told to, we got more fundings, and we are told we need to put some nice pictures on the website. So the photographer came and we showed many nice pictures. So this is one of the most exciting ones. Cassie is there also. Yeah, Cassie is there. And this is actually, you'll see that we are growing, we keep growing, and we have more and more people joining us. You can see that this picture is another basically brainstorming session for company directions. And now we have Shuki, me, Charles. Now we also have sales team. We have the VP sales. The first VP sales is there between me and Shuki. And we have our VP product. And also we have solution engineering also. So it's very powerful. And this also, thanks to Charles, also we managed to also recruit a very powerful team in China. So that actually, those teams actually were the best engineers from EMC that working closely with Charles and also Robin. So this is a picture from one kind of team building that we did in Shanghai. So where Shuki and Charles, we traveled there with Cassie, and we had a very nice dinner. I will show you in the next. So let me quickly go to here. So then this is my picture. So here, these are the pictures basically that happened before, actually right before we founding the Memverge. So I still remember, so Shuki actually, at that time I was still a postdoc, and we was working with Shuki on an idea where we will try to use the cheapest flash memory to show that we can store this data for 20, 30 years without issues. And we show that the cost of using flash memory is actually much cheaper than using hard disk drives. So that was we wrote a paper on that, and so Shuki actually is so kind that brought me to Israel to make lots of presentation to industry. I remember I talked to Apple, I talked to other companies, and also I met the Extreme IO's co-founders also. And also I presented in the multiple university to ask for the feedbacks. And after that, we decided to move forward and start trying to see if we can found a company. And again, I remember very deeply that Shuki told me at that time when I was trying to see if we can start a company, Shuki said, we need a CEO. Without the CEO, we cannot found the company, and without Charles joining us, we cannot start. So, and thanks to Shuki actually managed to convince Charles to join us from Cheetah Mobile and VMware, and we managed to kick off in 2017. And here is actually the first server we had in the startup. What's so special is this kind of drive, called Intel Optane SSD. That's actually the core component for our product. Initially, our company is actually thinking about using this Optane SSD to create either a very fast storage system or very inexpensive memory system. And we managed actually to build both sides of the products and to explore all the directions. There are so many stories here, but I don't have enough time to talk about, but basically that's how the very first server we had in Caltech and transferred to Memverge into our office. And this is actually the server later on, after 2 to 3 years. We actually built this little data center just by ourselves. And by buying all these kind of servers from different vendors, putting all the network together. So this is actually only a small portion of the server we have today. And they all carry this persistent memory inside. And during this, on the left of this picture, basically the process we are trying to create the logo for Memverge, and so each of us is trying to draw some kind of logo and see, trying to fit it M and V inside of the picture, and those are the prototype of our logo, the final logo on the right side. So lower left is, again, another kind of sort of executive offsite meetings we did actually in Orange County, Irvine, where we have VP marketing, VP product, and we're trying to decide what we are going to do in the next cycle and next half. And on the right upper corner shows the picture that it's a holiday party during the COVID where we cannot really get together. But you can see that we have a large Zoom meetings there, and Shuki is there also, and Charles, me, and everyone else. So we had also a nice, little online games there. It's a lot of fun. Yeah. And here is actually we had basically it's a dinner we had with our China team in Shanghai, where we traveled to Shanghai. And here, this is a kind of hot pot, Chinese hot pot. We rented really nice Airbnb there, which we can see the tallest building of Shanghai from that house, the old house. And we had a nice dinner there. And on the right upper lower corner is our trial to create more logos at the early days. Finally, I just want to show you some picture of our offices. We really transferred to many different offices. From the leftmost is the first office. Then we moved to another office, which is actually right next to Extreme IO's building office at Milpitas. Later, we moved to the office that's right next to our current office. And finally, in the right lower corner, that's our current office at the Milpitas on McCarthy Boulevard, right next to Cisco. So in the middle is actually the office in Shanghai. Yeah. So finally, I think I just want to share one of my personal experience stories. So I always remember when I come to the first time first day I joined Caltech and come to Shuki's office, I asked Shuki, do you have any suggestion for me on the work? So I still remember, so Shuki told me, keep working hard and smile. Good things will happen. So it sounds really simple, but now after so many years, I felt this is really, really difficult to do a good job in and still, I think Charles really did a great job. So today, whenever I do something, whenever I take a new task, I always tell me this: just keep working hard and smile, never give up. Thank you, Shuki. Thank you.
I know I'm not going to get that bonus, but thank you, Charles, Josh, Paul, and Yue for sharing your startup stories. I just want to thank again to Shuki for giving me the opportunities to work with you over the years. And I have to say that startups are hard. For those of you in the audience who are thinking about leaving academia, doing startup, my advice is don't. Unless you're working with Shuki. Because Shuki is one of the very few people that I know who can cross both of those worlds gracefully, with a lot of wisdom and with a solid track record. So thank you, Shuki.